Hey everyone, this is Ina. So today in Venice, we're gonna try painting something different. I'm gonna be focusing on painting these beautiful facade with the lovely sunlit pattern. What I got really inspired by the other day was the fact that I was at the art museum and there are heaps of art students who came in. They were really rowdy at first, but then immediately everybody was asked to pick a spot and copy the master, kind of live sketching in person. So they're like got spread out, some are on the bench, some are just on the floor, copying and sketching the masters. The thing that really amazes me about Venice is the fact that every single square inch of it has history. And it just really is an embarrassment of the riches, right? In terms of inspiration and art, everywhere you look, and have these beautifully carved Renaissance statues and just masters paintings readily available right inside and for everybody to enjoy. That is just really the beauty of Venice. So yeah, thought I would capture this opportunity and copy the master as well, like the students did at the museum. Yeah, so that is the plan, and let's get stuck in.
What my drawing process typically entails is starting by marking out the main object's position before drawing out any details at all. This is just to help me making sure the composition have the right balance as a whole. So then I can make adjustment. So like in this case, I think the building on the right needs to move way down. In fact, that will help creating a more balanced composition where the role of the buildings on the left mainly is to have this diagonal shape that's really strong, which then leads the viewer down this picture where their eyes can then land on the main facade I'm trying to depict on the lower right. Sometimes it's really important to leave out these blank space so that we can really direct all of the attention to very specific areas of the painting, as versus the entire painting is all information, then you wouldn't have room to breathe, right? Obviously, I am editing my voice in the post-production, but let me tell you why. So here is the reason.
Almost in the center. But of course, we're not going to be able to. There's a very strong cast of shadow here as well, but obviously, we're not going to be able to.
As I'm drawing out the details, like this arch in particular, I'm realizing it's in fact made out of very different pieces of marble that are cut same shape and then assembled together to create this beautiful arch. It just, as you were painting these things, it dawned on you like how much works and craftsmanship. Again, it's just so mind-blowing, right? As we move down, the drawing will be a little bit more sketchy because the lower right corner will be in shade. And also I don't want the entire facade to be fully detailed. So it kind of fades away to the lower right corner. And I want to make sure the upper left, including the statues and the main arch, is going to be the main focal point and as sharp and detailed as possible. The sun pattern is also moving so fast, it's entirely exposed to the sun now, pretty much. So I will need to remember that the cat's shadow's position, because I do like that only the tip of it is sunlit. Now for the building on the left, it will be further abstracted. Here I mainly just want to make sure the perspectives are captured correctly so that later on when I apply some darker details to this shaded surface, I still know where to apply the paint. But I think we're good here in terms of the drawing. I have captured all of the details where it needs to be painted accurately, and the rest can be a bit more fudged,
Cool. So I explained this before in my previous paintings in Germany, but the setup I have here is really quite simple. where just have the palette resting on the blank part of the sketchbook. Paint on the surface, have the towel on my lap, water bottles and extra water on the floor here. Brushes also inside the water bottle.
So for this painting process, I started to think that maybe we should paint the sky the last. Typically, you paint the sky, which sets the tone and mood and overall brightness of the painting. But in this case, since I'm relatively new to painting statues and just like white sculptural surface, I'm thinking maybe I'll finish painting the white objects and then gauge how dark do I need to go with the sky so that it looks more balanced in the end. I would try actually painting that casted shadow first and then work backwards up. That way you're not going to end up with very sharp brush strokes inside that casted shadow. Instead, they will just get blended together while the surface is still wet. No, pretty much lost track of what exactly this embossed statue is, but sorry masters, but hopefully the masters will understand that what I'm trying to achieve here is an impressionistic style of painting, and it's a very quick sketch. I'm by no means doing justice to all of these beautiful details. Now I feel pretty good about this time-sensitive task of blending in any of the shapes into that large casted shadow. I can move on to the other areas of the building facade. I find that when painting shadows on the white objects, it's always helpful to be alternating between cool and warm gray in a way that almost not letting them blend into each other too much, because then it just creates more interest and makes the shadow looks more vivid. Yeah, it really pays off to be just washing your brush frequently and then come in and alternate between the warm and the cool gray. Maybe we can experiment even with dipping into the paint and apply that directly on the paper, which kind of remind me of the Sargent method. He will often just dip into the color and apply that directly on the paper. Yeah, I have pretty much Sargent in my mind when I'm painting this. Actually, another two great artists who come to mind who does amazing figures and statues in watercolor are Wendy Artin as well as Michael Reardon. I think they really mastered the techniques of wet on wet, but also using just clear water to create that splotch that then like bleed into other areas of the paint when the painting is almost dried up, especially with Wendy Artin's work and what she chose to leave out as a negative space. It's just really masterful and artful. Okay, as we get to the main figure statues on top of the building, because these are very small area, so I don't really expect it to turn out highly detailed. So I think I'm gonna have to focus mostly on the casted shadows of the figure, where I think the arm has casted a pretty strong shadow. And then for the robe, just kind of hinted a few wrinkles on it. Now moving on to the main guy on the top of the building here. This figure is holding a staff, and yeah, it's quite amazing how their robe is basically catching wind, and they create that sense of grandness and righteousness. Yeah, just a mastery of design and craftsmanship, really. I'm quite happy with the main facade we're trying to depict here. Now we can move on to the building on the left, which I have mentioned. I mainly want this building to serve the purpose of leading the viewer into the scene. So in terms of detail, it will be further abstracted. So just hinting at certain statues and carvings and architecture details in the sunlit area, and then let the rest kind of fit into that large casted shadow. Now it might be good to add in some of the dark tones, especially that this casted shadow on the left is quite big and it can appear as flat if it doesn't have any detail. So just adding in a bit of dark tones to suggest these are the shapes and the carvings without giving away too much detail, obviously. What's interesting about applying dark tones is that as soon as you applied it to one area, it started to feel like the rest of the painting can use some more. So then just move on to the right and start hinting at certain spots that not necessarily are really the darkest in the actual picture, but just necessary dark spots to create that visual contrast, so then it can really guide the viewer's attention and lead their eyes across the painting. Cool. I think I feel pretty good about the dark tones in general, and we just need to then finish the buildings in the distance and finish it by painting the sky. In terms of the sky color, I think it will be a mid-tone value, but perhaps not too dark. Because the buildings are actually having a pretty wide range in terms of light, mid, and dark tone on them. So I think the sky, if it's too dark, then it might take away too much attention. Maybe add a little bit of yellow ochre towards the lower portion of the sky so that it looks not too jarring. That will help bridging the sky with the buildings. All right, I think we're done with the painting today.
And here is the finished painting. You will see that in real life, the sun's pattern has already changed. Earlier in the morning, it was casting alongside this building. Right now, the sun actually have moved behind me a bit, and it started to create casting shadow from that direction. Yeah, in terms of painting these very ornate architecture details and statues, definitely good lesson learned in the process. I think that the soft casting shadow effects, as well as the techniques of starting with the soft and then start blending upwards, making sure like the sharper edges then blend into the soft edges. That technique works, I would say, except for in this case, the casting shadows, like intensity is not strong enough. So when you're painting it, make sure to make it really dark. Dark like, whoa, I'm scared, but it's gonna turn out right. I would say that is the main flaw of this painting, but otherwise I'm quite happy with what's going on in the focal point. It is really hard to capture these like scallop shaped um, structured inside this dome. I can show you there. Maybe I would have been better off not trying so hard to capture these individual scallops, as versus just focus on like creating that cast shadow. What ended up happening is that I'm trying to capture like these soft reflected light on this side of the dome. You can in fact see that, but I think in practice, especially with such a small format, it looks like I have drawn this cast shadow like incorrectly, right? I've drawn it all the way to the left. Um, yeah, so that would be kind of something to keep in mind. What you see is not necessarily what you have to paint. You have to paint in a way that allows the painting to turn out to be believable, right? That is maybe the more important thing as compared to painting 100% accurately. But yeah, overall, quite happy with the outcome of this painting. That definitely got me really excited and wanting to paint more of these Renaissance architectures. All right, guys, with that, we have concluded today's painting video. I will be doing a similar recap video like I did for the Germany trip so that you guys can see what are the inspirations along the way and what are the specific moments that are special to this trip that I captured in painting. All right, guys, hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.